All right. So tonight I'm going to talk to you about nukes. Your goal tonight is to turn on and talk to your mentors, talk to the other members, the senior members in the club, and everybody start at least one nuke. First, I want you to understand IPM, Integrated Pest Management. We have to have healthy bees to do all of this stuff. So understanding the right chemical, either cultural or chemical, harsh chemical, oxalic, apistan, apivar, all the new stuff too. If we don't have healthy bees, you got dead bees, and then we're going just the direct opposite direction. The Varroa, I'm only going to jump on this part of it. If you're going to be consistent, check your mite count each month once we get into May, June, July, August, all the way up to October. Get the easy check. Off to the right, off to the left hand side, that is not what you want to see. I was a county inspector for 10 years. This is my first year that I stepped down. This is not what you want to see 100 and some odd mites in an alcohol wash. But you do want to see that's roughly six. So you still need to be thinking about it because we're looking at that 9 per 300. The Honeybee Health Coalition has that chart. Each month, I want you to do that alcohol wash just like you pay your bills, you do other things each month. The time you took it, the environmental, what you seen, how big it grew. Fill in that data. So if you have a problem and you need to talk to somebody, you can say, hey, here's the data that I have. What went wrong or what could be going wrong in this whole buildup? No different than the Honeybee Health Coalition book. They have version 8.2 or 8.3 coming out here in about another month. So that'll be the new one, and that'll have all the new chemicals that are out there. So please keep your bees healthy. I can completely compare this to going to the doctor's office. So if you're going for a monthly checkup, you don't instantly say, hey, give me a steroid shot and give me some of this and let's do an x-ray and let's do some surgery. The only way you do it, and this ties back with IPM, only hit your bees with chemicals if you're getting close to that 9 mites per 300. And then think about what you need to do or what you like to do in your operation. So there's a close up. You know, this is the number one killer of all our bees. There's other things out there, American foul brood, European foul brood, sac brood, and I can go on as an inspector, but you don't want to have this. In the center, I use the baby wipes, and you turn on and put it in, you pour your alcohol through it, and right there you can see all your mites. I want this, if not that one or two coming out in that springtime. I want you in the spring here, and we're only a short distance away. The bees are already brooding up. I've been in my bees twice now. We're already seeing beautiful patterns on some of them, and some of them are suffering. So I want you to pick the best of the best that are going to be your nukes for this year. And number one, I want you to look at brood pattern. Do you have a healthy queen? Last year, is it a 1 or 2 year queen, maybe a 3 year queen? Did she have enough sperm in her spermatheca? Maybe she didn't fire up this year. So we all know this beautiful pattern. This is like that Kodak moment. Got honey above the top, a little bit of pollen, 10% drones, all workers. And then you have that wire, back when I used to run wire, you have that wire through there, and you have heater holes where those heater bees go inside, gyrate, and warm that brood up in that early springtime. You don't want to see what we call shotgun pattern. If that queen starts firing up in the spring and she doesn't know whether to lay a drone or a worker and she's back and forth and laying all over the place, or down below it's completely spotty, off with her head. Combine it with a queen right colony or a queen that you like better. Combine those bees up with a newspaper and turn on and take off from there. Don't think this girl at this, maybe you called her Rebecca. And I love Rebecca. She's done a good job for me the last year and a half. But if she's doing this, it's not like she's going to go to a vet or something's going to happen and she's going to get better. They're only going to get worse from this point. Beekeeping is time, money, and resources. Killing this queen off and making it into a nuke, or Turon putting it with a queen right colony, then dividing that later is going to better off than letting this go and letting this get worse. You can turn on and know all the different diseases. There's disease books that are probably 4.5 inches thick. I have two of them, one from Canada, one from the US. Larry Connors wrote one. You don't have to know all these diseases, but I want you to remember wet, white, and creamy. And the reason I have white, copious amounts of royal jelly. I got tons of nurse bees inside producing Olympic sized pools of royal jelly and resources for these larvae to sit and eat. They grow 100 times their own body size each day. So they started as that microscopic little larvae that came out of that egg on the third day. They're going to pupate out until that 10th day. They're going to get capped over and emerge on the 21st day. They need all that nutrient until it's capped on the 10th to come out here. So we got eggs here in the bottom picture, young larvae, old larvae, and then capped larvae, or capped pupae on the way to being pupae. If it's white, wet, and creamy, I know I have resources coming in. I have good house bees. I have good nurse bees, and everything looks good. If any of these at any time are yellow, twisted, dead, black, there's pinholes in the cappings. These are telltale signs that the hair on the back of your neck should be standing up and saying, hey, I need to take a picture. I need to get a mentor. Digital camera. Don't take your $2,000 cell phone out there. Put it in a Ziploc bag and use it through that. And take pictures of these frames and say, hey, what's wrong with this? Especially if you see tons of dead larvae, take that frame and burn it, because then you could be having EFB or AFB on top of that. The pests and diseases, is that going to be, so if that had tons and tons of mites, deformed wing virus. Right there we have the mature foundrous mites chewing on a larvae, and this is what we might get. So you're going to see a little bit of that. If you start to see that, you instantly need to do an alcohol wash and start preparing to use something. Apistan, Apiguard, Mite-Away Quick Strips, Formic, whatever you're going to use, because by the time you see the mite in the third picture and the mites on the back, that's not normally where they live. They're living underneath the abdomen plates of these bees. By the time they're on here, it's like a jockey running out of a ship, a sinking ship. So these mites are clicking on, and the bees are running out because you have deformed wing virus or K-wing. The colony's starting to crash. These bees are looking for somewhere else to go, and the mites are jumping on the backs and taking off. So if you start taking drone comb and those drone larvae and using your pick tool, start tearing it open, and you see this kind of situation with foundrous mites all over the place, you have a problem. That's why I say do an alcohol wash each month, and you'll see those numbers gradually go up over time. Some other pests, we have hive beetles. So if you have your bees in that dark area, or maybe in a woods, maybe you just have one of those spots that's wet, clay soil, it's overgrown, and you have hive beetles. And also if you have a hive that's distressed, so all of a sudden they start to crash, things are going on. If that colony gives off that pheromone, these hive beetles can try and smell that up to 2 miles away. We have nosema, which is a midgut issue. So when our bees, if you see this on the front of the hive, like our bees are doing cleansing flights right now, not a bad issue. But if I see this on my top bars, now the bees are cleaning this with their mouth. They don't have lemon pledge and a scrubby. They're licking it up, which causes a virus, which they turn on, and it's just like us getting the flu. So you're either throwing up or sitting on the toilet. This is them sitting on the toilet and defecating all over the hot frames. If you have time and you want to, you can put these, turn on and tear out the foundation in it, use the frame, soak it in a 10% bleach solution, and scrub this out. Let it off gas for a couple days, and then turn on and reuse it. The wood doesn't go bad, but don't let a fresh colony in and go, hey, I'm going to stick this frame into a new split. All you're going to do is infect the next colony or that young queen that's trying to come up, and you're spreading that disease, that viral midgut. As they do trophallaxis, they feed each other tongue to tongue. And it'd be like us passing it on to the next generation. Many of you, of all beekeepers, you've probably seen wax moth. Wax moth colony died, didn't take care of it, and most of these are my pictures. So I go out as an inspector, and I always have my camera. The guy said the colony died late in the spring. Wax moth moved in and ate everything up, and there's all the pupae. Hive beetle that turn on and the maggots, as they turn on and do that, they ferment that honey and ferment anything else, and then all of a sudden you got this problem. The bees will actually abscond and move out of that colony. And all of a sudden you pop the top and all the bees are gone, and you look down through and there's microscopic larvae all the way to fat larvae, and as they crap or the feces, and it's fermenting the honey or whatever's left inside. Take those frames and everything and just burn them at that point. Let alone you have wax moth, you have mice, if you didn't have on your mouse guard. And around here up in northwest Ohio, I'm a half hour from Michigan, half hour from Indiana, we have the snakes that move in to almost every colony if you don't have a mouse guard on. Frame identification. What looks healthy? So does this look healthy? We have honey, pollen, bee bread, because that pollen is now shiny. So they put honey on the top and fermented it. They got bee bread, eggs, larvae, pupae, and cat brood. This is what I call healthy. This is what we should see. All those different colors of snowdrops, skunk cabbage, maple's going to be, people are going to start tapping maple trees soon. And all that stuff, and I'll talk about the GGD or growing degree days here in a minute. But this is what looks healthy. White, wet, and creamy. All the brood is white. It's all wet. It's all creamy. It does not look like this. Yellow, twisted. Larvae twisted here, yellow and black. There's a dead, the head's missing, and it's dead. So the bees are chewing it out. Here's chalk brood. But if you let chalk brood go in the spring, it's usually a moisture problem. This is what it fungicides up to and when it flowers. Billions with a bee, billions of spores. So as the bees grab a little piece of this and carry it out of the colony, every little spore drops into a new cell, and now you have chalk brood throughout the entire colony. One or two little things of chalk brood, not bad. Scratch it out on your hive tool if you need to. If it flowers up in that, just get rid of the frame and the frame beside it. So when we pull the frames, they're like bookends. I would grab both of them frames if there was a bunch of this and chuck it. If I seen this down below, yellow twisted, that could be European foul brood or it could be American. Take a toothpick or a piece of Timothy, find a young larvae, shove it inside, spin it around like a little whip, like a blender, and then pull it out. If you pull it out and it ropes over 1.5 inches, you could have American foul brood. If it ropes within 1/2 inch, European foul brood. But for us, about 4 or 5 years ago, now we have to have a veterinary feed directive to have terramycin, oxytetracycline. So it's better to manage yourself than it is dumping more and more chemicals inside that colony. What kicks off your maples? So right here, I put the zip code 45011. It's Fairfield. It's a zip code in Fairfield. We're still sitting at 0. Up north, we're sitting at 0. That maple bloom, when it first kicks off, all those bees are going to start looking at it. Silver maples, red maples, and it only has to get a score of 34, 40, 42, 44. If you talk to the guys who tap maple trees, as the tree starts to bud, they'll quit tapping the tree because they call it buddy syrup and it tastes nasty. So they'll only tap that tree until the buds swell and the flowers get ready to come out. For this, you'll see skunk cabbage, other things, but Ohio State University puts this on, and it's just a cheat code. What's in bloom And when you go home, each time you go home or go to the apiary, what's in your 5 mile radius? Do you have tons of maples, red maples in your area? Do you have silver maple? Do you have northern forsythia? And this count, if it gets up to 50 degrees for an X amount of hours per day, this count could jump to 10, it could jump 50, it could jump 100. Now that we're getting into these nice days that the bees are out doing cleansing flights. So when you see this and you put in your date, put in your zip code and click go, this number is going to start jumping and you're going to see this. And then down below it says full screen, and you can click on that and see all the different things that come into bloom or bud in that springtime. So it's a good little tiny cheat code. For us up here, it's the dandelions. When we start seeing the dandelions in everybody's lawn, everything up here in the north, we only have one main season, May, June, and July. Then we have August, that's an absolute killer. You guys down south are a little bit better off. And then when we turn around and have that second bloom is in September and October, you'll have that goldenrod and things like that. So why do I want you to get a nuke? The pros of having a nuke. Number one, you have that extra queen to make a split. You can evaluate this queen. If you open that nuke, and we've all had hives that you go to open the hive and the bees come out and staple your pants to your legs, is that a colony do you want to split? Absolutely not. But if you have a queen cell, and we've all seen those, you can purchase queen cells. And if I have this extra queen in this box and one of my full-size colonies start to die, I can take this queen out or take the whole entire colony, put it in a full-size production colony, and turn around and save that colony of 80 to 100,000 bees, and it is saving trying to 10,000. Or take, if this is a big, well-working nuke, take this queen out, put it in that colony over here, and let them raise their own queen. Now you have production right inside, and they're going to raise their own queen the right way, their own queen right colony, and they're going to turn around and have their own. Resources? I got guys who turn around and do Ross rounds on nukes, Dwight Wilson. I turn around and collect pollen out of nukes. You can do cut comb production. You can have excess brood. So in this thing here, as it's getting frames of cat brood, just split them and make another nuke. Or if you have 2 or 3 or 4 nukes, steal all the cat brood and put into a gigantic production colony right when you know the maple syrup's starting to run or after it's done. And all of a sudden, all those house bees turn into foragers, and now you've just bumped up the production, and all the field bees go out and start pulling in more resources. So excessive brood. The other thing you can do is take 2 or 3 frames of this and build up or equalize another colony. We all have colonies that one's an overproducer and one's an underproducer. Don't be afraid of taking that frame, shake all the bees off, and give that frame of cat brood to another colony. In a deep frame, roughly 8,000 bees. So you have 8,000 workers that are going to emerge on that 21st day, and I can bump up and move around excess bees. Grafting larvae, you can turn around and do this. If you have a queen rearing class, you can do this with Mel's OTS on the spot method, or who wants to sell nukes in the springtime? Nukes up here up north are going for $200 to $220 a nuke. And if I have, right now I got about 16 of them, that's my springtime money in my operation. If you have all these bee classes, these one-day classes going on, right there, one deep, every gap of bees filled, a queen laying eggs, or has eggs, larvae, pupae, and merging a frame of honey and a frame of pollen, $220 in your pocket. The cons, but I want you to think about the cons on this. You must visit them at least once a week. These things in this little tiny nuke of maybe 5,000 bees, it wants to be a huge colony. But at the same point, you can steal from it anytime you want. But what if you don't visit them every week? They're going to turn on and start getting honey bound. The QMP is going to start to drop. The queen's going to come out. She's going to swarm, and they're going to make 5 or 6 other queens. So it's really not a con, but your original colony, and maybe you catch that swarm on top of it. Then take that swarm, put it in another colony. So it's always an operation. It's just if you catch it in time. So what if it swarms? If all else, if they swarm and they move far enough away, there's another DCA. It helps the drones in that DCA so she can mate. So you put a virgin queen in here and start that whole process over. What if they die? I would much rather lose this little colony of 5 to 10,000 bees than it is an entire colony. What if they outgrow it? If you keep putting in frames of foundation and they fill them up, and this queen, she looks at you, it's nice and calm. You pull the frames up and she lays an egg right in front of you, and she's just really nice. Then take this and just stick on another box on the top. So make it a 5/5. If she proves herself again, all of them are working great, all white larvae and pupae. No disease, tons of production. Then turn her into a full-size colony and use her for the benefits of increasing your numbers to your productions. So it's not bad odds. All you have to do is have one box. If you want to put 2, you can do a 5/5/5 and then split that into a 10. But it's just something there that you can use all these things in. If the worst and they die, you only lost a little bit, and you can steal from this constantly. So building a strong nuke, and I'm talking right in the next couple, probably the next month. I want to build a strong nuke because we still have cold weather on the overnights. We still have, there's not a lot of pollen and bee bread and stuff being produced because we don't have the pollen coming in. So I want you to transfer from the parent colony. What colony in my apiary has a nice queen? They've never caused me problems. I can open the top and they don't jump in my face. I've never seen disease in that colony. That's the colony I want to break into and make a split from. Transfer them. So what we're going to do, we're going to take in this early so they have numbers and they keep that heat because we have to have mass. I want at least 3 frames of brood in this strong nuke. I still want them to be able to get that 95 temperature and have enough bees that they can kind of live independently and I don't have to babysit. I want to give them a frame of pollen or pollen substitute on the top. Do not put a gigantic patty, rip off little tiny squares or little tiny golf balls, put it right over the brood and mash it down. If they gobble it up in 2 or 3 days, then put a couple more. If they use it again, until natural pollen starts flowing, I wish I was there. How many people sit and watch their bees on the front entrance? And that's what I want you to do. I want you to take a chair sometimes, put on a veil, and start seeing when that pollen really starts coming in the springtime. Give them some honey, or if all else, put your inner cover, put another box on the top, put a 1-to-1 on the top, put your pollen right here up above the brood. Let this thing build up and let her prove herself. I want you to check it every 24 hours after you put this together, because if you put it together during the daytime, you took field bees in this nuke, where are the field bees going to go? Right out the front entrance and back to the original colony. So you might think you put, oh my God, there's so many bees in here that I can't put any more bees. Every gap is full. If you check it in 24 hours, maybe half of those bees are left because they were foragers going out. And then take frames of brood, double check it, triple check it for the queen, and shake nurse bees back in this box and to keep these numbers built back up. In the springtime, so once we get to that late May and June, then I can make a strong nuke with 2 frames of brood. They don't need that temperature and that big amount of brood because it's getting warmer and the overnights are staying above 50. Everything's good. I've been known in June and July, if I want to make a split, I used to use 1 frame of eggs. So you can turn on, divide it down. But in that early spring, I want as much in there, as much brood, eggs, and larvae and pupae in that box to build that strong colony up. So the variety of nukes, you see them in all shapes, depends on the suppliers, depends on what you have. I'm going to suggest pick one that you like, pick one that's accessible that you can purchase or go to a show or have a dealer nearby, and I want you to stick with it. Because in my early, and I'm just saying this from absolute been there, done that, I started off with some 2 frames. I started off with this. I started off with Michael, that's when Michael Palmer came out in probably 16 or 17, or the 4/4s. I started with nukes like this with traveling lids. Now I have an assembly of tons and tons of junk that I can't stack one of these on top of here. I can't take a queen castle and put it over here. So when you get that set up, and the pros and cons, 2 frames or 3 frames, there's not enough bees in that early spring to make a healthy colony. 5 over, absolute, these are perfect. 5 over with a feeder on the top, absolute perfect. Queen splits, and I have a bunch of these. I use Lexon. Before I build it, I run a groove on the table saw. As you can see, I cut right through the handle, slide a piece of Lexon in. The problem with this is these bees here, we're fighting with these bees over here. That's the only, so what I did is I cut an entrance in the back on the bottom board, and then I have a shim that covers this up. It's like a reducer, covers this up. So these bees come out the front, those bees go out the back. This is, Tim Arhite had these for years, kind of Lexon, the same thing. He had holes drilled in where that one on the side, this bee goes out to the left. This bee in the center goes out front. These bees here come out the front or back here, out the front here, and these bees go out the side. 2 frames is not enough to let them build up. Now, if you're using it as a queen castle for the queen to go out and get mated and come back, yes, you can use 2 frames. But if it builds up, then she's splitting out, and then this bees take over these bees. So it's a little bit of a mess. Michael's 4/4. It's a deep box, split in the centers. There's 4 frames here, 4 frames here. They work great. But that bottom and then the tops have got to be special, because you can't put 2 nukes side by side. You have to have cut down boxes. It's just tons of more specialized gear. Here's Peggy Garnes. She's got front end feeders. I don't agree with it, but it works for her. She just runs 5/5 with a shim and then puts her resources and sugar water in the top. She runs a bunch of these. The styrofoam, I have a few of these also. If you want to get into this on the low end, when we have Tri-County Spring Workshop, look for Better Bee or any of them that have a Fowler board, and that's with an F. And what you can do is take your box, slide this, all it does is hang on your top. It completely goes right around the box on the inside, and you can slide this. Start out with 3 frames. As it builds up, I just slide it over. So I can take a 10-frame box, put the Fowler board in the middle, drill a hole here on the end to let the bees go out one direction, a hole on the other side. And as this builds up, one colony or the other, I can just slide this back and forth. Makes it much, much easier. So overwintered colony. Here's my 5 over, quote, 10/10 over a feeder of a 10. There's my old queen. So I'm going to take this. Don't want to split all your colonies, but I'm going to pick my most favorite production colonies that I like. They were really good. They brooded up early this spring, and they're doing a good job. And you can only split so many, because I'm going to show you just the numbers here. So this colony, I have a 5-star system, or a 5 check mark system. They have to be calm. They have to brood up with no disease or chalk brood or any other types of diseases. They have to give me some honey. I want boxes of honey. Or I have a few colonies that are really, really good about just putting on pollen. So I use them for pollen production. And then my 5th one, I want to be able to lift that top with nitro gloves on, and they don't attack my hands like they're trying to chase me out or kill me. So this old queen comes out, 3 frames of brood, a frame of honey, frame of pollen. there's one split. If you have the resources, so if you only have one colony, that's enough right there. You've made one split. And then play with it. If you have two or three colonies that, yes, they're all good. And you can say that, use a queen cell once they start to build up. Now, 3 frames of brood in the early, honey, pollen. Once we get into that early May and June, now I can purchase a queen. I want one from Dwight Wells. I want one from Joe Kovaleski. I want one, and you can pick any queen you want. Now I can steal resources here, as long as you're not stealing so many resources that this colony collapses. So again, right here, if I done this split, I have to have 3 frames of brood, 6 frames, 9 frames of brood. So I can't do all those splits and let this colony live. But if I had 5 and 6 hives, I can make another split. Or if all of a sudden this colony gets jammed up, now I make another one with a queen cell. Remember, 4 boxes, 4 bottom boards, 4 inner covers, 4 telescoping covers, and extra boxes. If this thing gets overly sized, I got to put on another box. So it's more gear, more stuff. But all these resources in the spring, I could sell this one, sell that one. There's $440 in your pocket. And we all know how cheap beekeeping is. I could keep this one around. Maybe this one was the better queen. I can keep this one and let her go to a 5/5. And maybe this queen cell, maybe she did okay, but she didn't get a good mating flight in. Off with her head, put in a frame of eggs from this colony back into my nuke, and I'm off to the races again. So this is letting you play with all these different things that you see older bee or older generation beekeepers do. This is what we're doing. I used to do this with 60 some odd nukes in the spring. And it was a nice little, even though I own H&R Block, it was nice money that was all in the pocket, all the cash. My different options that I run now, I still run a boatload of 5 frames. I still keep my Michael Palmers. They have a gap in the front, so this colony comes out front, this one goes out the back. For my mating nukes, once I hit that May and June and start grafting here up north, I have my 3/3s. This queen comes out the front here, this queen comes out the front here, and this one goes out the back. These bees are small enough that they're not a powerhouse, but these foragers will come over here and stand guard. These bees will come over and stand guard, and you always see them. I'm trying to download, my big thing this year is to do video. You'll see these bees here come to the middle, and they'll headbutt. And then they stand about 6 inches apart. So these bees will stand back here a little bit. These will stand back here. And at night they go in. And in the morning, they come back out and do a headbutt because they know the QMP of this queen is theirs. The QMP of this queen is theirs. So you can turn around and skip. I can steal this one. I can steal this one. I can come over here and steal a little bit of that. There's sometimes I have a little wagon that I'll steal tons of brood out of these that they're brooding up so fast and make more splits. Or if I need tons and tons of pollen, I'll throw tons of them into closed cells, so capped brood, and throw them into a big production. So that way when they emerge, 8,000 per frame, you got 16 to 20 to 30,000 bees emerging. Those turn into house bees and nurse bees. All the nurse bees that are in there turn into foragers. And that colony will just rush in with tons of nectar, pollen, and food. There's my setups that I take to the winery every spring. And all I do is I find places that have good resources. You'll see medium nukes, deep nukes, deep. This is my springtime. So once I know they're up and running, when I sit in the front, I'll sit here in the front and see who's bringing in pollen. Pop the top, look at their numbers. And on the top, I use a Chinese grease pencil, and you'll see notes. You can't see it real well on these, but I put little notes on the top. B with a check mark means good brood. Q with a Q with a check mark. I got a laying queen that's laying a good pattern. And then you can turn on and make all other notes. And these notes are only for me. I used to do back in the day of the brick method. but I had about 50 of these up at the winery and had the bricks in all different methods. So, like Doolittle, if the brick was standing straight up, it was in distress. If it laid right, laid left, and every brick was different. Except I went up there one day, and Pam at the Stony Ridge Winery said, "Hey, we went around and all the bricks were laying the different direction, and we laid them all the right way for you." So it screwed my whole entire system up. So I went to a Chinese grease pencil instead. And then Harbor Freight, never, never, ever say, "Oh, that thing won't blow over." If you get a storm that rolls through, there's not a lot of weight. Take the Harbor Freight, wrap it around, and wrap it right to the bottom. So that thing's not blowing over, flipping over, because there's a potential of $220. If I put another 5 on it and I can make 2 splits, almost $500 per split, or for a double. Here's a Michael 4/4s. This one got away from me in the springtime. So here's one colony. There's another. I cut that just enough to leave 1-to-1 sugar water. Pulled these frames and instantly made a split here and a split here. And you can see them bees. They're starting to fight a little bit. These bees went this way. These bees went up and in the back entrance. And I didn't even have to do anything. And right here, they were only in a single box. But they were so jammed up in the spring that as soon as I pulled this inner cover, and these are separate, there's a split, I pulled this one, they exploded, and they went in, they became beautiful colonies. Here's my bricks back in the old days. All the bricks had different formations until that whole method went. So here's the other ones. Here's the ones I was talking about. I have 3/3. So there's the entrance, comes out the front here, the one out the back, and then I have single 2x6s. I got to shim one down here. I got to rip it down by 3/4 of an inch. So there's 3 individual colonies that start. So this queen, when I check this, I take this board, I flip it over, I pull these frames and I inspect. I take that board, flip it back over. Then I pull the center one and I check. If these 2 are weak and I have a good one, I just take this acrylic sheet and pull it up. Now I can bind these 2. Or if they get so jammed up with resources, then I can slide that acrylic back down. So now I got 3 colonies in one box. My early feeders on the top picture. And then I have, I think I have 40 of these right now, maybe less. And this is my springtime. So once I hit that May and June, now I have 3 queens at any time. I go to a club meeting and somebody says, "Hey, my queen's not laying, or she's laying a shotgun pattern. Hey, come pick up a queen." Sell the queen for $40. So I take this queen in the middle, put it in a JBZ with a couple workers inside. If this is queenless, then I just take the acrylic and pull it. Now combine that one. This queen right will come over here. Use those workers. They might fight a little bit. And then when they come out front, I have all those queens and all those resources. And it's addicting. Once you start getting good at this and knowing what you're doing, and you have the apiary for it, you have the time for it, you can build these up. And right on the top, 1, 2, and 3. And there's all my notes written right on the top. At the end of the year, I can scrub it down or wash it. If all else, usually my granddaughter, maybe my daughter, they'll take white paint and roll white paint over the top, and then I have it ready for the next season. So easy. These are my pictures. This is my operation in the spring. Swarm prevention. If you don't want to start too early in the spring, we all have these colonies, and these are Dwight Wilson's. These colonies that actually just start belching at the seams. So what do? This is the perfect time. So now we have asters already coming out, goldenrod, or not, excuse me, not asters. Pollen's coming in. You maybe have catalpa at that time. Maples are definitely in. Sumac, things like that are in. So you see the grass, it's all green. Everything's starting to build up. When that pressure gets so big, that's when our QMP starts to shut down, and that queen's going to start laying around in those cells. And we've all picked up that box. You make that split, you lift this box up, and there's queen cells laying on the bottom. For every queen cell on the bottom, you can make another split. I can take 2 of these frames here, and make a split. 2 of these frames and make a split. 2 of these frames make a split. If you start to see backfilling, if you inspect a colony and that brood area is supposed to be open and it's completely filled with nectar, there's another sign that they're getting ready to swarm. Bearding out the front. If you start to see them beard out the front or all over the under the inner cover, that's a good time that they're starting to get that swarm prevention in. And then drones, if you start to see tons and tons of drones coming in and out, they're all ready. And it's hard once they get to this size and so jammed up, or I lift this box and I see 10 queen cells, they're already in that mood. That's the time I start breaking this down and make more splits out of it. For the newbies, when I say queen cups and queen cells, you might not know the difference. So if you look at a queen cup right here, think of it as a coffee mug flipped upside down that queen could lay in and have a potential of laying an egg in. But I pull that frame out, I put the sun over my shoulder, I tilt it so I can see in the bottom of the cup, and if it's just polished and empty, you can even take your hive tool and crush it down. They put them on the bottom, they put them in the midsection, they might lay them here on the side, but there's nothing in it. Now, if they start to get compression again, back to here, all that QMP starts to slow down. A third of that colony says, hey, we're going to swarm. If you see it pulled out like this with this nice white wax, you see the little, it almost looks like frosting on that cell. If you've ever eaten a raw peanut, I want you to go to a store and get a handful of raw peanuts. That's exactly what a queen cell looks like. So if I see this white cell like this, when I tilt that up, put the sun over my shoulders, use a magnifying glass. Do not be afraid of using a flashlight or whatever you need. If I look down inside here and see a larvae with royal jelly and they're pulling this cell out and it's getting longer, the old queen could be there or she could already be gone. If I look inside and see this, there's the next queen. Do not instantly, if you see a queen cell being pulled out like this and it's open, don't instantly cut it down because the old queen might be there, she might be gone, and this is going to be your next queen to take over that colony. So don't instantly tear these things down, but that's what's going to happen. So we got the coffee cup, the queen cups. These are the queen cells underneath. Right here, here's a queen cup, but the queen decided to pull this out, so it's capped on the 10th day. If it's capped, do not take that frame and shake it. Don't roll it over because in the top of that royal jelly, it's suspension. So it's holding that larvae, she's going to drop head first down into the tip of this and get ready to pupate out to the 16th day and then chew herself out. If I pull that frame and say, hey, I'm going to turn around and show you, or I got a friend, or I'm going to take a picture and I'm going to lay it down and then flip it back up, you're going to dislodge her from this royal jelly and she's going to fall butt first, and then it's just going to it's going to look like black cell queen virus. The tip of this is going to get black where she's going to get liquidated, and then it's going to turn black and you'll go, hey, it's 32 days. Why hasn't that queen emerged? She's already dead. If you ever pull out a cell and see that trap door that's completely open, for the older generation in the room, it's like taking the old style can opener. If I see this, I know there's a young queen out running around. Put that colony back together. You could steal the one here. You can see it's just a bit chewed, but she hasn't emerged yet. You can take an X-Acto knife and cut this out, and then take this cell, put it back together, and right on the top, do not touch for 2 weeks. That young queen needs at least a week for the keratin in her wings to harden off. She's going to spread her QMP through the colony so everybody likes her, and then it's going to give her a week to go out and make a mating flight. And then I'm going to start checking for eggs. But these extra cells, and we've all seen some that hang off that are easy to get to. If you're going to cut this, cut way out and out around, and then make another split. Don't ever touch that cell or nick that cell. So you can turn around and cut these apart and make more splits. And here's how you do it. Here's the cells. I pulled this one. These cells here, this is when I used to have black foundation that I got from Dwight Wilson. Here's a colony that just absolutely made so many queen cells, and some of them that I cut, that I actually pressed in. That's number 8 screen, so it's 8 squares per inch. I turn around and flip it over, put it on the end of a 2x4 and cut it so it's about 1.5 inches tall. Press it down into the foundation, all the way down to the midrib, and there's a queen here, and there's one in each box with some workers. And then I build a nuke up that's queenless. So as this queen emerges, she drops in. The bees over here start to feed her. She starts to plump up. This queen, she drops. They start to feed her. And then I can open this up, take that queen, capture that queen, put her in a JBZ, make another split. Make this one another split. If there's a queen in this nuke, she'll go around and they'll quit feeding all of these bees. So I got nurse bees in here. Here's an easy way. If you have multiple cells, just make cages, push them right around, and then I can go out and pick these queens out when I need to. So it's an easy way to turn around and do it. If you're going to do it, remember, it must be queenless. Sometimes when you do this, you got cages here and here and here, and if it starts to get tight, just take away one frame. So now I have one frame out, so I can pull these without tearing the frames off or tearing these cages out. This is going to be, so queenless, I'm going to put a 1-to-1 feeder in the top, maybe feed her some stimulated 1-to-1 pollen patty, and I'm going to check it every 8 hours when these queens start to emerge. And this is on cap cells, so she's going to emerge. It's capped on the 10th, or excuse me, tapped on the 10th day. I only got 6 days, and you don't know when she's going to emerge. This one might emerge first. That one could emerge first. But shake in tons of nurse bees, and once a queen emerges, put her in a JBZ, or if she's the last one there, just leave her in that box. Pull the cage, put frames back in, and let her take over that nuke. Virgin queens. If you've never caught a queen, and you're scared to touch a queen, I'm going to hurt her, I want you to put on nitrile gloves. I want you to start picking up drones. So take your fingers, your thumb and your index finger, and just pick them up on the back of the wings. If you pick up the drone, guess what? He's not going to sting you, so you can be nice and calm. I want to turn around and pick up that queen, or pick up the drone. If you set him back down and he walks away and flies off, you're starting to get the touch. You don't need to crush. All you got to do is put contact between your fingers and press real nice and easy. The next step, if you've done that 50 times and you go, hey, I can pick up a drone in 10 seconds. Boom, you pick him up, you got it, you release him, he goes. Then start picking up workers. The only bad side to it, if you mess up, she will sting you. So now I'm picking up workers. If you pick up the workers the same way, head moving forward, I pick her up on her wings, she cannot take her abdomen and sting you. She's going to move it out in an arch, and she's going to turn around and try to sting you, but she can't get turned around. So pick them up, you turn around, let her move around, you set her back down, you release her. If she takes back off, you've never done anything to her wings. If you're squeezing too hard and she goes to fly and she flips and she hits the grass, then you've tore or injured one of her wings, and they're very, very pliable. So it takes a lot of force to do it. So now I can capture these workers. If you do that 20 to 30 times, you can start picking up queens and start using them. So here's the queens in the containers. All you do is put in a queen. I put in 2 or 3 workers and then release them. I take them to clubs. I take it to a club meeting, put it in a small little orange battery box for Man Lake. You could take 20, 30 of these queens to a club. You can only, if you're a small scale, you could take 1 or 2 queens, but tell the person, I want you to take this home and release it tonight. Don't wait 24 hours or 72 hours and leave this in a car where it's too cold, or stick it up on a dashboard where it's too hot. So they can take it in their kitchen, leave it on the counter, leave it on the dining room table, put something underneath it. They'll turn on and be fine for 24 to 36 hours, but not in extreme heat or extreme cold, because they don't have the bees to keep her warm. They have the queen candy. Most all queen people will do that. All it is powdered sugar with a little bit of honey, and you're mixing it up so they have something to eat, and you're all good. So we have the California cages. The proper way to put them in is tilted up so the cage can turn on and the bees can come in and feed. Do not take that cage. I've heard people doing this, and I actually had a guy, I sold him 10 queens, and he says they all died. He took the screen and shoved it into the wax because it would stick better. Nope, you just starved them out. So I want it tilted back. So if a worker dies, the worker falls backwards and the queen can still get released. And on that third day, no matter what, just yank the candy out and off the queen goes. Same way with a JBZ. This is how I do it. Take a toothpick, shove it in between. If a worker dies, they drop to the bottom. There's my queen. When you stick that toothpick through, do not skewer your queen. So make sure your candy's up top. Something happens down below, that's fine. She can still get out. On the third day, pop the edge here. She walks out, walks down, and they accept her right off the bat. So where are you going to get all these extra bees? A bait hive. 2 of the nastiest combs that you have. 3 foundation on one side. 3, this is an 8 frame. This is off Tom Seeley's book. Old comb in the middle. These are mediums in a deep. Put a little bit of lemongrass. Put lemongrass on a Q-tip on each end. Shove it in the back of the box. And then there's a bait hive. So if you got somebody in the club that raises really good colonies, find a property that's about 150 feet away and put up some bait boxes. Just joking. Don't do that. Another way to get more bees, catching swarms. Everybody should be able to do this. In the grass, cut the branch. Always ask homeowners to cut the branch or cut it so you can turn around and do it. But catching swarms. If you get a swarm call, always ask these things. What's the height of it? They might say, it's taller than my roof. Relate things to it that you can relate to. Is it taller than a car? Yes. Or I had a guy tell me, they're all over this tree. They're way up. But the trees going down his driveway were only 3 foot tall. Were they sprayed with chemicals? Or did you had BT? Or did they hit them with wasp spray? Always ask if they've been sprayed. What did you see? How long have they been there? Because we all know swarms can only be there for so long. Can you cut the branch? Sometimes you can go over here and the homeowner says, hey, I don't care. Cut the branch, put them in your box. Free bees. Go home. If this queen is good, this would be a mated queen from the season before. If she goes in here and lays this all up with brood and eggs and does a banger job, maybe then take her and make splits off of her for the next colonies off of that. The tools, everybody, if you've caught swarms, you've seen all kinds of different tools, and it all depends what you want to get into. Trap outs, I'm not going to talk a lot about this, but trap outs, having a cone, you place the cone at a vertical, pointed upwards just a little bit, and you capture them that way. Doing tear outs, that's a really advanced subject on that, because when you do a tear out, maybe those bees died of EFB or AFB. You have to really know your diseases and what you're tearing into at that point. You need tons and tons of tools. Do not take your cutlery or your stuff from your wife's kitchen, because these are now your honey house knives. So tear outs, there's a lot to them. Go with, if you have an opportunity, if there's a senior beekeeper that says, hey, I'll take some beginners with me and do this, then go with them and at least try it and at least watch, because you could have this. This is a tear out we did that had AFB in it. Your nukes, as easy as this. There's my nukes in the spring at my house, because I like the feeders on side so I can turn around and walk past, see who's taking the sugar water, see what's going on. And for me, it's just easy. And then more nukes. So all these nukes are here. Here's a whole bracket of nukes. They just support my full-size colonies. So I can use them all the time. If not, I can sell them. If not, if you got too many of them, I can turn them into full-size colonies, and I just bump my numbers up. So it's an easy way of having all these different things that you want, resources that you want. You can support and equalize your other colonies. So if these brood up here, I could steal 10 frames from here and take this double cream red color and put another box on top and bump their numbers up. So a lot of different things you can do with it. At least everybody at least try one nuke and play with them this year. If you kill them, that's a learning curve. If you do something good with them, if you sell it and you make money, that's money in your pocket. And I'll open it up for any questions.
When should you start splitting your hives for nukes?
I start doing it early. I watch the AccuWeather. Once it's over 50 degrees, overnights and during the day. So if I start seeing 2 and 3 weeks with it over 50 degrees, then I start making my splits, but use 3 frames of brood. Keep them nice and warm.
Any other questions?
Yeah, what's a QMP?
QMP, Jamie.
Queen mandible pheromone. So for us, we smell lemongrass. But to the bees, it could be the difference between cherries and a banana or motor oil and gasoline. Each queen, as you turn on take bees, if you take this queen away from this colony and I take a box of bees here and put on top, they'll start to fight because they know that QMP of their queen was something completely different. The closest that humans can smell is lemongrass, and it's the come hither smell. So it tells the bees in a tear out colony and bait hives and things like that, come hither. So when that bee, if these bees swarm, when they swarm, they're spreading that QMP of that queen, and they're following that pheromone to that bivouac or where they're going to hang out at, and then start to run reproducing those swarms and taking off. New vocabulary word for next month.
Any other questions?
Yeah,
Rick?
when he takes the queen, put the queen cell in and puts them in the cage, how long can they stay in there?
How long can they stay in the? Did you hear that question, Jamie?
Yep. As long as they stay queenless, as long as this box here, we go to the next one. As long as that box stays queenless, I would leave it no more than 2 weeks because the keratin on her wings is going to start to harden off. She's got to make a mating flight within that 2 to 3 weeks because if not, her spermatheca is going to dry up. So there's a perfect timing that she's got to get out, walk around, start getting that, I'm going to say this, bubble butt. She needs to turn around and take the spermatheca on the back because she's got 150 fallopian tubes on both sides, and she's got to get her butt moving back and forth and get all that ready to go. So when she makes a mating flight, hopefully with 20 to 30 drones, she can start storing all that sperm in for her spermatheca, so that'll last at least 2 years plus. So no more than 2 weeks, but you can leave, as long as it's queenless, leave them right in there and then make your splits as you need to.
Any other questions? I think that's it, Jamie. I appreciate it.
Not a problem. Again, I apologize. Let's turn on and I'll come down this summer on the Gold Wing, and I'll come to a meeting and see how many people have made nukes up by May or June.
Sounds good.
As the president of OSBA, thank you very much for your time. I wish every one of you tons and tons of bees, tons and tons of honey, and have fun this year.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie.
You're welcome. You guys have a good night.
See you.